Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I wanted to make a video because I noticed a few of my friends out there that are feeling down, depressed, and if you're thinking about killing yourself, don't, because I've already had so many friends that did that. Now, I know that life can be hard, but like I always say, you must never feel sorry for yourself. I had so many things happen to me. And you also got to think, is it temporary? And I stayed at a homeless shelter before. Um I remember trying to put in so many applications to get a job, and I know how that feels. My house was set on fire not once, but twice. And I did cry, yes. It's called edging when you get so angry that you're on the verge of just crying while you're mad. And everyone does, we're all human. So if you feel like that, go ahead. Just let it out because it does cleanse the spirit. Uh, in our culture, that's where all the warriors would go into a sweat lodge and just let it out because they couldn't do that amongst the village. So they would let it all out in the sweat lodge. And what happens in there stays in there. So, what I tell people, like I always say, don't feel sorry for yourself no matter how hard life gets. So, after you're done crying, you gotta think to yourself, how am I going to come back from this? And to be not in this position, to be crying again. So when that happened with my house, I let it down. And I know that the person who set it on fire was watching me. So I let it out and I was so mad and I'm cussing around. But I told myself, never again after this. Never again. I ain't going to cry about it. Because God takes care of them. And I don't remember the exact passage, but he's like, leave revenge in my hand because karma comes around. You know, there's a saying, God don't like ugly, which is so true. Eventually, everything they do catches up to them. In our culture, we don't call it karma. We always say, the elders would say, it'll fall back on them. You don't make fun of somebody who's handicapped because in some weird way, your circumstances could change into their circumstances. You know, because that's what they mean. It fell back on them. You steal from someone, somebody steals from you. It always goes around. Anything you put out there comes back to you. But now people know that's karma because of pop culture. But also, some of my friends that I work with, a lot of them been incarcerated, and they think they would never amount to nothing. But that ain't true. Now, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do any drugs. But it doesn't mean that I look down on people who did. So what that means is for me, not to rub anyone's face, but I have problems too. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. But the difference between me and somebody else who ain't sober is I gotta take my problems as they come. I gotta take them head on, as opposed to somebody else. People who do drugs, drink, they escape reality. They escape responsibility. They ignore their problems like they're gonna go away. So they stay in that state. For me, I gotta tackle it and figure out, okay, this is my obstacle. How am I gonna get over it? And you don't want to be crying yourself to sleep thinking you're never gonna amount to nothing just because you've been incarcerated. You just gotta think of, okay, how am I gonna come over this, okay? Or if I'm sober, how can I make it another day? Just one more day. So don't ever feel sorry for yourself. That's the whole thing I'm always trying to tell people. Life is hard. I remember when I was younger, like 18, me and a friend was just talking about how hard life things were at 18. Okay. Things got harder since 18, man. But he said this too. He goes, if life was any easier, it probably wouldn't be called life. So I like to always read one of Bruce Lee's quote. It goes, don't speak negatively about yourself, even as a joke. Your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and they cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Change the way you speak about yourself, and you can change your life. And that's so true. So when I go to work, you do everything that motivates you and mentally prep your mind. Sometimes it's a stretch. You pray in the morning. You do everything to try to make yourself have a good day. There's a lot of guys that won't do that. They're mope around and they want to drown in their own sorrow. It's not healthy, you know. If anyone's ever worked with me, they know that I make them laugh because I try to change the vibe. And I knew there's a lot of people that worked with me too that they didn't like me. They still don't like me, and I didn't care because them not liking me, that's their own business. But I'm doing my thing, they do their thing, but there's still a lot of people that I helped out too who may have gotten into it. But you gotta always keep your head up. And like I said, don't feel sorry for yourself because you're not the only one who's going through problems. You just want to be thankful you woke up the next day and then figure out how you're going to get that money. All right, Todd, go ahead. I'll let you take over.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with a lot of things that he's pointed out, especially for one thing with my generation is because I'm part of Gen Z and we have a habit of making fun of like ourselves constantly, even self-doubting ourselves and making fun of it in general, even if we are seriously, even if we are depressed or just in a bad mood, and we have a bad habit of doing it even up to this day where we we're rushing into things that we don't even know, especially if it's decisions that we think just in a moment on a feeling instead of looking at the full ramifications of what will come upon in the future for us or even ourselves, the individual, if we do this certain deed, like getting into a bad habit of like drugs or type of habit that probably wouldn't be good for you at work, and or even just in life in general. I mean, I've I've seen a lot of people, especially around my age, where they don't know what to do in their life, or they believe they do, like just starting a family, but not having really anything established and just keeping themselves down, or just moping, just moping around, not putting any effort into changing. Especially even with all this technology that we have, all this knowledge that's on here, nobody wants to really look into it. They would rather escape either at the bottom of a bottle or just in whatever entertainment that's on online. But nobody really, they don't really want to change who they are as a whole. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people are really depressed by just not really not taking the time. And I think the sad part is a lot of them chose not to listen to their parents, to the elders, to really any grown adult that has been around around the corner a lot and knows what they're talking about. A lot of them are going to regret it when they're older. And for me, I chose to listen. I chose to listen to what the adults had to say, even if I didn't like it. But I knew they were right at the end of the day. And sure enough, I'm seeing it all unfold in many ways, shape, and forms. And they're right. Sure, we're young, we're ambitious, we want to explore the world, but we also don't take the warnings and precautions that the older generations tell us. We take it for granted, and we'll see what happens towards us when we're up there in that age where we have to be the next teachers in life. Even if it means if there's a few of us that listened, we're going to have to do a lot more work in order to help the next generations keep going, especially to help those of us that chose not to listen and then will have to learn the hard way in life, especially with now with everything going on in the world and everybody's just feeling terrible, feeling awful, and not really knowing what to do. Even now, like being at this age 21, being sober, staying out of trouble, avoiding all kinds of drama. It's just you do when you think you're being left alone, you think that you're not going to get missed, but because you chose to stay in your own business, to stay out of other people's drama and business, somehow it always comes back to you, even if you didn't want to be a part of it in the first place. It's just sometimes if you're that person that just wants to stay away, and even if you're trying to change your life for the better, even if you just got out of jail, got off of a bad habit of drugs or whatever, once you get on that path when you're trying to do right for yourself and right for others, that evil just wants to come back at you.
Yep.
Just always wants to pull you back regardless of where you're at.
Because when you're playing in sin, the devil doesn't pay attention to you until you start doing good.
Yeah. And he's always lurking, him and his followers. They're always lurking to pull those that are just doing good or are just trying to heal, and pulls them right back in that hole.
And that's what leads you to feeling sorry for yourself. And that also can lead to suicide. And that's the whole thing I want. When I see people, like, they always say nobody cares about men's problems, and that may be true to a certain extent because they say a man is only loved by how much he can provide, and he won't get his flowers until he's gone. Then yeah, it may be true to a certain extent, but as men though, it's kind of hard to who do we vent to? It's gotta be someone we trust. So I had a lot of people who vent to me, and I never put their business out there because I have what they call empathy, is where you put yourself in other people's shoes. So another thing is like get comfortable with being uncomfortable is pretty much is how I want to live my life now. Because when you get comfortable, now you don't want change, but if you're uncomfortable, you're adapting to change. New skills, new life, new scenery, everything new, and then just cut out the negativity, whether it's your habits or people that are just bringing you down. Cut them out because they ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm gonna leave here with that, and I hope all of you guys, that watch my stuff, I hope this helps you. And always pray. Pray when you're going through something. Always, right?
Wait, hold on. I got something else to say too. So, to quote, uh, to quote a man by the name of KRS-One, there's a certain in one of his speeches that he was given. Now, there's a saying that he has where it's don't search for happiness, but search for joy, meaning that we all want happiness, but we get that confused, meaning that happiness is something that's temporary, but joy is something that's everlasting. Something that no matter how bad and how terrible you feel, that feeling will always be with you. Nothing on this world can ever take that away from you. Especially now, like, and another thing too, I want to leave off with all of you out there, no matter how old you are, who you are, where you come from, or whatever, is we're young, but we have the new knowledge, and if you're older, they have the old knowledge and wisdom that they could pass to us. And if we both come together, we can also make this world come better. So I hope you all have a good night out there.